Beverly Carter story. This is a tale of ambition, trust, and betrayal. Beverly Carter's life, filled with love and success, was tragically cut short in a senseless act of violence. What began as a routine workday ended in a nightmare, leaving a community mourning and sparking a deep cycle of revenge. The life of Beverly Carter, a journey of love and resilience. Beverly Carter was not just a realtor. She was a beacon of joy and determination. At 50 years old, Beverly had built a thriving career in Scott, Arkansas. Her charm, infectious laugh, and unwavering dedication to her family made her beloved by everyone who knew her. Beverly's life with her husband, Carl, of 35 years, was the epitome of partnership and love. High school sweethearts, the couple grew together through life's ups and downs, raising 3 sons, Carl Jr., Chad, and Christopher, and later, delighting in their 5 grandchildren. Beverly was a doting grandmother who cherished her role, always finding time for her family despite the demands of her career. In the early 2000s, Beverly took a leap into the real estate world, drawn by her natural ability to connect with people. Her passion and work ethic paid off, as she quickly became one of Arkansas's top realtors, earning accolades and admiration from her colleagues. But life was not without its hardships. In 2003, tragedy struck when Beverly and Carl lost their youngest son, 19-year-old Christopher, in a devastating car accident. The loss was unbearable, but the couple found strength in their family, particularly in raising Christopher's daughter, Bailey. Beverly's grandchildren became her greatest joy, filling her days with laughter and love. The fateful day, a dangerous deception. September 25, 2014, began as an ordinary day for Beverly. She had arranged to show a property to a prospective buyer, a young couple claiming to be cash buyers looking for a quick sale. For Beverly, this was routine, and the promise of a cash buyer was a welcome opportunity. Before heading out, Beverly texted Carl, her husband, letting him know about the appointment. She joked about picking up Mexican food on her way back, promising it would be her treat. It was a casual, loving exchange, one of countless messages they had shared over their decades together. With her usual professionalism and optimism, Beverly left for the property. But unbeknownst to her, the couple's information was fabricated. Their names, their identities, everything about them was a carefully constructed lie. What awaited Beverly was not a sale, but a deadly trap. Make sure you subscribe to Code 187, you don't want to miss the next one. The disappearance of Beverly Carter, a family's worst nightmare. As the sun dipped below the horizon on September 25, 2014, Carl Carter sat at home, glancing at the clock with increasing concern. Beverly, his wife of 35 years, hadn't returned from a property showing scheduled earlier that afternoon. At first, he told himself there was no reason to panic. She was a dedicated realtor, known to spend extra time with clients answering questions and discussing details. But as the hours dragged on with no word from her, Carl's unease began to grow. Beverly was typically meticulous about checking in, especially when meetings ran late. She had texted him earlier, joking about picking up Mexican food on her way home, a casual, loving message that had seemed ordinary at the time. By 9 p.m., however, Carl's worry had turned into full-blown panic. Calls to Beverly's phone went straight to voicemail, a red flag for a woman who was always reachable. Something wasn't right. A desperate search at the property. Unable to sit idle, Carl grabbed his keys and headed to the address Beverly had shared with him earlier, 14202 Old River Drive. The house was located in a quiet, semi-rural area, an isolated spot that now felt foreboding in the darkness. As Carl pulled into the driveway, he immediately noticed Beverly's car parked neatly in its spot. For a moment, a flicker of relief washed over him. Maybe she was still inside, finishing up with the buyers. But as he stepped closer, his relief quickly gave way to dread. The car was locked, and through the windows, he could see Beverly's purse and notebook still sitting on the passenger seat, items she would never leave behind voluntarily. More alarming was the state of the house itself. The front door was ajar, swinging slightly in the evening breeze, and the windows were dark. Carl stepped inside, his voice trembling as he called out, "Beverly, are you here?" The only response was the echo of his own voice bouncing off the empty walls. He moved from room to room, checking every corner and closet, but the house was eerily silent. Beverly was nowhere to be found. It was then that the full weight of the situation hit him. Something was terribly, terribly wrong. Carl's hands shook as he pulled out his phone and dialed 911, reporting Beverly as missing. A community mobilizes, the search for Beverly Carter. The hours that followed were agonizing for Carl and the entire Carter family. Word of Beverly's disappearance spread quickly, and her friends, colleagues, and neighbors rallied to support the search. The Carter home became a hub of activity, with people coming and going, offering food, prayers, and most importantly, their time to help find her. Beverly's 3 sons, Carl Jr., Chad, and Christopher, joined the effort, scouring the surrounding areas and retracing her last known steps.
Stacy Medlock is searching the surrounding area.
We just want her safe. We want her safe, back with her family.
The family worked tirelessly, fueled by equal parts hope and desperation. A neighbor's observation, the mysterious black car. As investigators began piecing together the timeline of Beverly's disappearance, they knocked on doors in the neighborhood, hoping someone had seen or heard something unusual. One neighbor came forward with a crucial detail. They had noticed a black car parked outside the property shortly before Beverly arrived. The car's trunk had been backed up unusually close to the front door, a detail that struck the neighbor as odd but hadn't raised immediate alarm. A thin white man had been seen exiting the vehicle, though the neighbor hadn't gotten a clear look at his face. This lead, while significant, raised more questions than answers. Who was the man in the black car? And what had happened between the time Beverly arrived and the moment Carl found her car, purse, and notebook untouched? Tracking Beverly's phone, a fading signal. In the digital age, cell phone tracking has become a vital tool in missing person investigations, and Beverly's case was no exception. Investigators quickly began tracing her phone, hoping it would provide clues about her location. Initially, there was a glimmer of hope. The phone appeared to be on the move, its signal pinging off cell towers as it traveled away from the property. For a brief moment, the Carter family clung to the possibility that Beverly might still be alive, being transported somewhere. But within hours, the signal disappeared completely. Whether the phone's battery had died or it had been deliberately turned off was unclear. What was certain, however, was that the trail had gone cold. A massive search effort, #FindBeverly, goes viral. Determined not to lose momentum, Beverly's family and friends turned to social media to amplify their efforts. They flooded platforms like Facebook and Twitter with photos and descriptions of Beverly, using the #FindBeverly to rally support. The response was overwhelming. Strangers from across the state and beyond shared her story, creating a ripple effect that extended far beyond the local community. Realtors from neighboring regions closed their offices to join the search, while volunteers combed through fields, wooded areas, and rural backroads, hoping to find any trace of Beverly. Over 200 volunteers joined the effort, forming search parties that worked tirelessly day and night. Carl Jr. later described the scene as both heartwarming and heartbreaking, a testament to the love people had for his mother, but also a stark reminder of the grim reality they faced. The weight of uncertainty. For Carl Sr., the weight was excruciating. Every minute felt like an hour, every hour an eternity. He replayed the events of that day over and over in his mind, searching for anything he might have missed. Beverly's last text, so casual and lighthearted, now seemed hauntingly out of place. Her colleagues at the real estate agency described Beverly as cautious and professional, someone who always took safety seriously. The idea that she had been targeted while simply doing her job was unfathomable to those who knew her. Time slips away. As night turned into morning, the urgency of the situation became even more pronounced. Investigators knew that the first 48 hours were critical in missing person cases, and the clock was ticking. Leads were sparse, and the weight of uncertainty hung heavy over everyone involved. For the Carter family, the pain of not knowing was almost unbearable. Hope battled with dread as they waited for any news, good or bad. Carl Sr. stayed by his phone, jumping at every call or message, desperate for answers that seemed just out of reach. The search intensifies. The disappearance of Beverly Carter had quickly become a high-profile case, drawing attention from local and national media. Reporters camped outside the Carter home, covering every development and keeping her story in the public eye. Despite the overwhelming support, the lack of concrete answers was crushing. The image of Beverly's abandoned car, her purse and notebook left untouched, haunted everyone involved in the search. What had happened to her after she arrived at the property? Who was the man in the black car? And most importantly, where was Beverly now? The search for answers had only just begun. The hunt for the suspect, a web of deception. As the investigation into Beverly Carter's disappearance intensified, detectives began to scrutinize every detail she had left behind. Among her belongings was a notebook containing the names Stephen and Crystal Adams, the prospective buyers Beverly had planned to meet. These names, however, quickly raised red flags. There were no records of individuals by those names, and when investigators traced the phone number Beverly had been in contact with, they uncovered a startling connection. The phone led them to Crystal Lowry, a woman with no prior criminal record who seemed an unlikely suspect. But further digging revealed her husband, Aaron Lewis, a 33-year-old career criminal with an extensive rap sheet. Lewis was a man who had spent much of his adult life in and out of jail for crimes ranging from theft to fraud and robbery. He was known for his cunning and lack of remorse, traits that painted a picture of a manipulative and dangerous individual. Aaron's criminal history provided a motive. His life was marked by financial instability and a penchant for risky schemes, making him the perfect candidate to devise a plot targeting a successful real estate agent like Beverly. Police believed they had found their prime suspect, the person who held the answers to Beverly's disappearance. Acting swiftly, law enforcement issued a warrant for Aaron Lewis's arrest, beginning a high-stakes manhunt that would test the resolve of everyone involved. The capture of Aaron Lewis, a cat-and-mouse game. On September 28th, 3 days after Beverly was last seen, the search for Aaron took an unexpected turn. He was involved in a car accident and transported to a local hospital for treatment. This should have been the moment investigators captured their suspect, but Aaron had other plans. Before police could formally detain him, Aaron escaped from the hospital. His disappearance sent shockwaves through the investigation, raising concerns that he might flee the area, or worse, harm someone else. Law enforcement issued an all-points bulletin, and Aaron's face was plastered across local news stations and social media.
Why do they have you arrested?
The urgency was palpable. Police feared that every passing moment gave Aaron more time to cover his tracks and potentially jeopardize Beverly's life, if she was still alive. A vigilant citizen saves the day. Hours after his escape, a vigilant citizen recognized Aaron at a bus stop in Little Rock. The individual had seen his photo on the news and immediately called 911. Police arrived on the scene within minutes and apprehended Aaron without incident. His capture was a critical breakthrough, but the battle for answers was far from over. The interrogation, a chilling clue. When Aaron was brought in for questioning, investigators were met with a wall of defiance. He was cold, uncooperative, and displayed no sign of remorse. Detectives pressed him for information about Beverly's whereabouts, but Aaron refused to answer directly, relishing the control he held over the situation. Then, in a chilling twist, Aaron produced a recording on his phone. The room fell silent as he played Beverly's voice. "I haven't been hurt. Just do what he says and don't call the police." The recording sent shivers down the spines of everyone present. It confirmed that Beverly had been abducted and was alive at some point during the ordeal. Her voice, calm but pleading, suggested she was trying to reassure her family while simultaneously grappling with her own fear. Yet, despite its haunting nature, the recording offered no tangible clues about Beverly's current location. Aaron refused to elaborate, maintaining his cryptic and defiant demeanor. Unraveling the lies. Faced with Aaron's silence, investigators turned to technology to uncover the truth. They meticulously analyzed his phone records, tracing his movements in the days leading up to and following Beverly's disappearance. The data painted a damning picture, linking Aaron to specific locations that soon became the focus of the search. Meanwhile, Crystal Lowry, Aaron's wife, began to crack under the weight of the investigation. Police brought her in for questioning, and while she initially denied involvement, the mounting evidence against Aaron forced her to admit the truth. Crystal confessed that she and Aaron had lured Beverly to the property under the guise of a home showing as part of a ransom plot targeting wealthy women. However, She claimed the situation spiraled out of control when Beverly recognized Aaron, prompting him to take drastic measures. The grim discovery, a heartbreaking end. On September 30th, police followed a lead from Aaron's phone records to an industrial cement plant 20 miles from Little Rock, a site where Aaron had previously worked. The location was remote, surrounded by towering machinery and overgrown fields. As officers combed through the area, their search ended in a devastating discovery. In a shallow grave near the edge of the property, they found Beverly's body. Her hands were bound, and her face was entirely wrapped in duct tape. The autopsy later revealed she had died from suffocation, and the brutal nature of her death shocked even seasoned investigators. The duct tape had been applied so tightly that it deprived her of air, making her final moments unimaginably terrifying. The news shattered Beverly's family, who had spent days clinging to the hope that she might still be alive. Carl Carter Sr., her husband of 35 years, was inconsolable, while her children struggled to process the enormity of their loss. For the community, the discovery marked the tragic end of a case that had gripped the entire state of Arkansas. Beverly, a woman known for her kindness, warmth, and dedication to her family, had been stolen from them in a senseless act of violence. The aftermath, seeking justice. The arrest of Aaron Lewis and the confession from Crystal Lowry provided the evidence needed to move forward with charges. Aaron was charged with capital murder and kidnapping, while Crystal faced charges for her role in the abduction and cover-up. Aaron, however, remained unrepentant. During his trial, he attempted to manipulate the narrative, fabricating a story that Beverly had willingly accompanied him and suggesting she was involved in an affair. These baseless accusations were swiftly dismissed by the jury, who saw through his lies. Crystal testified against Aaron, detailing how he had suffocated Beverly with duct tape and buried her body. Her testimony was a key component in securing Aaron's conviction. In the end, Aaron Lewis was found guilty on all counts and sentenced to 2 life terms without the possibility of parole. Crystal, who had cooperated with the investigation, received a 30-year sentence for her involvement. A tragic legacy. The murder of Beverly Carter left a profound void in the lives of those who loved her, but her family refused to let her death define her legacy. Led by her son Carl Jr., they founded the Beverly Carter Foundation, an organization dedicated to improving safety for real estate professionals. The foundation's mission is to educate and empower realtors, ensuring they have the tools and knowledge to protect themselves in potentially dangerous situations. Innovations such as wearable safety devices and real-time location sharing have become more widespread. Inspired by Beverly's story, though her loss is immeasurable, Beverly's legacy lives on, transforming tragedy into a force for change. Her story serves as a stark reminder of the dangers faced by those who work alone and the importance of vigilance in every profession.